Okay, now we will continue our topic. Absorption of water already we have discussed. After absorption by the root hairs, water reaches to xylem tissue. Now this xylem wants to transport water upward toward the plant body. So here the process transporting water by the xylem towards the up, that process same as ascent upside. So to transport water against to the gravitational force, generally towards the gravitational force means it is easy, but opposite to that force it means it is somehow difficult. So then how that water transporting against the gravitational force means here different forces are helping to transport water by the xylem towards the upside. What that forces are? Mainly root pressure. Root pressure is one of the force that it helps to transport water in xylem towards the upside. Then what is root pressure? How it creates? So we already know that epidermal cells having the root hairs that absorbs water and it transports to the cortical cells and it reaches to endodermis and again from here pericycle and then phloem and finally it reaches to xylem cells. So water which is absorbed from the soil by the root hairs, it enters into endodermis. From the endodermis it enters into the cortex and through the water which absorbed by the root hairs, it enters into epidermis, not endodermis, this is epidermal cells and from here cortex and endodermis layer and so on. Finally it reaches to xylem. Okay, after reaching to the xylem, this water needs to transport to the upside, that too throughout the plant body. So in such a case, see here we will draw some other diagram. A plant roots having root hair and water entered into the root hair. Finally it reaches to the xylem. Okay, up to this clear. Now water is in xylem of the root. Root and the in the water. Now this water needs to transport toward the plant body. So here the xylem tissue is spread all over the plant body. This the xylem vessels are spread throughout the plant, to the branches and to the leaves, to every part of the plant body. So finally this xylem transports water and here we will find in the leaf having stomata. Through this stomata water will be evaporate. Continuously water absorption takes place and it will be transported throughout the plant body and through the stomata water evaporates into the atmosphere. That process will take place continuously. But here in certain cases this stomata will be closes. Stomata closes but evaporation will not take place. Evaporation stops. It may be depending on different factors. And here due to the evaporation stops, here water continues, absorption of water will not stop. of water by pairs. At the same time, transpiration is less or completely stopped. In such a case, water which entered into the xylem that creates pressure. That is what said as root pressure. Okay, ma? So, this root pressure helps to transport water. But here, you should remember that this can be transported to the few centimeters. Pressure which is created in the xylem by the water, that is sufficient to transport water up to certain height, that to few centimeters. It is not sufficient to the tallest plants which having hundreds of feet. We know that some plants having 100 feet. Eucalyptus, Jama and Chetlu, South Carolina, Jama and Pinus plants, these are too tall. Hundreds of feet also have. కొన్ని చెట్లు వందల అడుగుల ఎత్తు కూడా ఉంటాయి. అంత ఎత్తుకి to transport that much of height, this root pressure is not sufficient. But it also helps to transport. అది కూడా కొంతవరకు హెల్ప్ చేస్తుంది. But it is not sufficient to transport for the tallest plants. It is sufficient to the herbaceous plants which having smaller in height. Few feet. కొంచెం చిన్న plants, herbs and for the plants this root pressure is sufficient, but it is not sufficient to the tallest plants. Okay, ma? Root pressure which is created by the continuous absorption of water in the xylem tissue, it creates some pressure, that is what said as root pressure. This root pressure helps to transport or helps to move water towards the upside. Towards the upside. But this pressure helps for the transport of water for the few centimeters or few distance, but not in the tallest plants. It is sufficient to the herbaceous plants. Then what about in case of tallest plants? So they have some other mechanism. Along with the root pressure, some other forces also subsidiary cells, and these two are the guard cells, stroma. But here these walls are either sides having thicker subsidiary cells. So monocot plants having these type of stomata and dicot plants having these type of stomata. Nothing here. The difference is guard cells shape. In dicots having bean shape and in monocots having dumbbell shape. That is only the difference between monocot and dumbbell. However, how this through the stomata water evaporating is said. Through the stomata water coming out in the form of water vapor. That is what saying transpiration. Then how that it happens means when plant wants to lose water in the form of vapor, in such a case this stomatal aperture will open, or other cases it will be closes. Then how that closing and opening of stomatal aperture takes place means by the movement of sodium ions and potassium ions. When stomata wants to open, in that case from the subsidiary cells these sodium and potassium ions enters into the guard cells, so that automatically concentration in the guard cells will be increases. Concentration hyper or high concentration. Then automatically here the concentration will be hypo or low concentration. So automatically water enters into the guard cells. Automatically water enters into the guard cells. So that here the guard cells will turgid and increase in size. Automatically that stomatal aperture or stomatal pore opens due to the turgidity of guard cells. Guard cells water ni absorb cheskoni increases in size increase అవుతుంది. So that automatically it will be opens. Whenever if it wants to stop the transpiration, it means plant wants to save the water. Transpiration is stop chese. In such a case, this process will be reverse. Sodium and potassium ions which entered into this guard cell, that will be returned back to the subsidiary cells. So automatically concentrations will be changes. Here high concentration will form and here low concentration. So that from the guard cell water releases into the neighboring cell. So automatically these stomata cells will become like this. So stomatal aperture will be closes due to the loss of water from the guard cells. So automatically transpiration will stop. So like this stomatal function will take place. Closing of stomata and opening of stomata. That is depending upon the movement of potassium ions, sodium ions and at the same time water movement also. Okay ma? Same thing happens here also. Just the difference is only the shape of guard cells. So here you know the structure of stomata in monocot plants and dicot plants and how the stomatal opening will be takes place. Now we will go through how the upward movement will take place in ascent of cell. In case of transpiration. Transpiration pull, how it creates. So imagine that this is a xylem vessel and here this mainly in transpiration pull, two acceleration tool. Cohesive force and adhesive force. Cohesive force means attraction between two water molecules. Adhesive force means attraction between water and other component is lignin. So how it works? If this is the xylem vessel, xylem cells are generally cells having like this number of cells, but here in the xylem cells, these membrane between that it is disappears, so that it creates continuous passages, just like a straw, just like a tube. So here, if this is the xylem walls are coated with lignin substance. Xylem inner walls are having lignin layer. So water which entered into the xylem from the root hair, that it having attraction, water molecule having attraction with the lignin. What we are saying? Adhesive force. So it will be binds with the lignin. At the same time, we are saying that cohesive forces, which means that attraction between two water molecules. So imagine the situation. See, in this case, here is the water molecule. This is the water molecule. This water molecule is attracted by the lignin wall and it binds with the lignin by the adhesive force. Same time, meanwhile, the water molecules which are neighboring to this water molecule, that also between these two water molecules having cohesive force, so that when this moves to the upward, this also moves along with it. So clearly, this is lignin layer. This is the water molecule, number of water molecules. So this water molecule binds with the lignin wall and this moves to the upward. This is moving means automatically cell which is beneath the other water molecule which is having beneath to that, it also moves to the upward because of how lignin wall and this water molecule having the attraction or adhesive forces. Similarly, this water molecule and this water molecule also having cohesive attraction, so that it won't be loose. It pull along with that. ఈ వాటర్ మాలిక్యూల్ మూవ్ అయిందంటే ఇది కూడా ఆటోమేటిక్గా అవుతుంది. Similarly, one with the other, again it moves to somehow upward. Again, one more water molecule will move to the upward. So in that manner, water moves in the xylem by the help of cohesive and adhesive force. In this manner, the water moves towards the upside inside. So finally, that it will be transported to the plant body, throughout the plant body. See here, xylem. Imagine this is the xylem, and that this is transported throughout the plant body. So water molecules will move in the xylem vessel throughout the plant body with the help of cohesive and adhesive forces. Similarly, in the leaf also, membrane or vein. This vein having this xylem vessel and number of veins, so this water will be transported throughout the leaf. So finally, this leaf having lower surface of the leaf having stomata, the water which is transported, that it will be evaporated into the atmosphere. So here this is important. See, with the help of cohesive and adhesive forces, these water molecules are moving towards the upside. In that manner, that water is transporting throughout the plant body. After reaching to use, that is releasing into atmosphere in the form of water vapor through the stomata. It means that happening the process is transpiration. Transpiration jarigi water evaporate అయిపోతుంది. So, water is evaporating means continuously water molecules movement will be takes place. There is a pull to plug the water. ఒక వాటర్ మాలిక్యూల్ ఇక్కడ ఎవాపరేట్ అయిపోయిందంటే నెక్స్ట్ వాటర్ మాలిక్యూల్ అలో చేస్తుంది. Similarly, that happens continuously. So, transpiration is going on means pulling of water molecules will be takes place continuously. Similarly, the movement of water will be takes place continuously from the soil to root hair and xylem to the throughout the plant body. In that manner, this evaporation helps to pull the water molecules. So that is what said as transpiration pull. That a transpiration pull is sufficient to the plant to transport tallest plants also. A transpiration pull is sufficient to transport the water throughout the plant body in tallest plants also. Okay, ma? So this is the main process that helps to transport water throughout the plant body along with root pressure. Okay, ma? So once just I will recall this transpiration process. Mainly that we need to remember here is what is transpiration and adhesive cohesive forces. Transpiration, loss of water from the plant body in the form of water vapor through stomata. Stomata playing an important role. This stomata structure guard cells and by the movement of sodium and potassium ions, stomata will be open and will be closes. Monocot, dicot stem stomata will differ by the shape of guard cells. Dicot having bean shaped guard cells and monocots having dumbbell shape. Okay, and then here movement of water that can be takes place by cohesive and adhesive forces. Cohesive forces are attraction between same molecules, whether may be water molecules or some other